So I have my guests in the studio, and I'm privileged to host them this morning. George Anda. George Nenyi Anda, or Nenyi George Anda, is Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West. It's very important. That's where he holds his political position. But another political position he holds is being the Deputy Minister of Communications. And thanks for joining me, George.
Thank you, Roland. Good morning to your viewers.
Good morning to you,
and
too.
Good morning to my colleague and friend.
And his
my brother.
Colleague, friend, brother is Roxin Dafeamapo. Is a legal practitioner, but also a Member of Parliament for North Dine. And you say the notable...
South Dine.
The South Dine. Okay, sorry. North Dine is George.
Yes.
It used to be George.
Yes,
and then we have Joycelyn now. Some of the notable towns in your area.
Avetile, Weve, Germany, Tongo, Dugan, Blango, Chame.
That's right. It's okay. It's okay. Wusutai is where?
Wusutai is in North Dine.
North Dine.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be going to Wusutai probably this weekend. So
very well.
All right. But we have to start with the subject of the Lands and Natural Resources Minister's office being backed, and now we know that Inus Afuseni said inadvertently a device that was installed during his time as the minister was left unremoved. We know this as well. Your first words on this?
First, it was unfortunate, but I like the honesty that the minister. If you were any other person, the person would have kept quiet, because we'll be tracing as to who really planted the device and for what purpose. But having occupied that office before, I want to commend him for coming out so that this matter is put to rest. In fact, he did say that it was because of suspicion of certain recordings. That is why. And you don't even know who accesses your office as a minister when you leave the office after 5 p.m. or after 8 p.m. You don't even know the kind of cleaners who clean the office. And when they are cleaning, you don't know what they do. So it is good that periodically, but my advice is that anytime there's a new government in place, they take security, they take reasonable steps to sweep the offices, either to retrieve things like this or any other device, electronic or otherwise, that would have been planted in the office. And so I want to commend him for coming out, being candid about the situation. And I want to believe that the reasons why he said they planted their device are also genuine. And so I'm sure this matter can be put to rest. I just want to assure, he's also my brother, my big brother, Peter Bo, that we are all in support of his fight. Of course, being the fight of the government against Galamsey. So anything that will be done to thwart that, we'll be the first people to speak against it. And so he should carry on with his good work. And those will be my preliminary remarks.
Your initial remarks, sir.
I think it's quite difficult to understand why you would install a security camera in an office because you have fears. And then when you move offices, you will not take it to your new office. It doesn't quite make sense. Number two, most of these devices, they can be triggered or controlled remotely. And it's very rare that if it wasn't transmitting when the sweeping was done, the signal would have been detected. Okay, so I don't think that the excuse is being given quite wash. Yes, it's good that he has come and admitted that he's the one that installed it there, but for what reason did you install it? Why is it that you didn't take it away when you were leaving office to another ministry? So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. I'm not sure that it's just a matter of saying that because he has admitted it, we should sweep it under the carpet. He's a responsible person. We need to understand why he was doing that. We need to understand the motive behind what he did, and why would you want to spy on your successors? I mean, if you don't have any interest in that ministry, as you have been giving another schedule, why would you want to spy on your successors? It doesn't quite make sense. If you had fears about the position or whoever was holding that position being spied on, then the most sensible thing that you should have done was to have then informed your successor that, listen, because of A, B, and C, I did this, and I will suggest to you, I'll advise you that you also consider doing this. But I mean, the answers that are coming are difficult to to process. I mean, but that said, we are committed to the fight against Galamsey. His Excellency the President has made it clear that he's prepared to put his presidency on the line to fight this fight. And I'm happy that my brother has also confirmed his position or his stand as far as Galamsey is concerned. And we all commend Peter. We thank God that he has been able to detect this thing. When we say the battle is the Lord's, it's not just for the matter of saying, but there's a reason why we say the battle is the Lord's, and the Lord will continue to fight this battle for us so that we can put Ghana right.
At the end of the day, we know that if it was for, or the motives were insincere, he wouldn't have come out in the first place.
How do you arrive at that conclusion?
Okay. All right. At the end of the day, so we're talking about security of ministers and other government functionaries or appointees. How seriously now should we be taking this?
I think he really addressed this issue. I mean, we should take our personal security very seriously. Routinely, it's not just when you take office, but routinely offices must be swept. And when we say sweeping the office, it's not sweeping. It's not literally
electronically.
Yes, and
CSI, CIA, NSI.
Exactly. I mean, because a lot of people may have other ulterior motives. Like you said, you don't have any relationship with the person that is clearing the office. In the Ministry of Communications, there are CCTV cameras that are installed there. So if something like that happens, it's possible that you may be able to tell who came out at what time, who went in at what time. But anything can happen, and so it's a routine security process that must be followed religiously, and I agree with him. We must.
Have you swept your office following this incident?
I'm not sure that is a subject to discuss here.
All right, I agree with you. At the end of the day also, it's not only about ministers. We have MPs who work on sensitive issues. They talk about sensitive subjects which will touch the sensitivities of many people, and so it means that the extension of the detail of security should go beyond just the normal government functionaries.
Indeed, we've been clamoring until I'm sure he went into, or he was taken from Parliament to the executive, so to speak. He's still in Parliament, but what I mean is that
you've been given additional responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. We're fighting, and the fight is still on that. MPs, we also deserve some security detail. In addition, no, it's not funny, because you see, we are the only branch of the executive,
only branch of government,
that hasn't got security detail. You know, I have no security detail. I go to places on my own, but I have come under a few attacks. You understand? My vehicle, my home, you know, just within this 6 months period. So because I until I became an MP, I was a happy-go-gay law practitioner who does his work. But suddenly I've become a politician, and there's attention on me. So that's what we are saying. Aside from the ministers, aside from the High Court judges, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court judges, I think we also belong to that bracket of people that should be given at least some form of security. Even if it's a half-day security, a semblance of it will be okay. But not to be given anything at all, you know. And there's a precedent. We've lost a colleague in very bizarre circumstances. And we believe that if we were to have a detailed security, a police detailed security, perhaps even if he would be injured, it wouldn't be fatal. You understand? So it is important. And what is worrying, he is there, he knows. The gadgets come in so many forms. I hear they come in rings, in watches, in spectacles, in buttons, in pens, all manner of gadgets. Yes. And these people, look, from here, I'm sure there's a long queue of people waiting for him in the office. People come to sit before you discuss all manner of things. And in the course
waiting for who?
No, waiting for the Honourable Minister. You understand? To discuss business, to discuss proposals. He's here, he will testify. and they come in the course of the discussions, you discuss, so you converse, you exchange ideas, and whether you have been recorded or not, you don't know. You know, and before the election, there have been so many incidents of recording. You know, very serious meetings before Jack, the outcome of or some aspects of those meetings filter into cyberspace. They are done in the public domain. So it's very important that the security sweeping should be taken seriously, particularly for our public officers.
Roland, why did you giggle when you started talking about MPs needing
well, usually,
security
you know,
details?
because we work as media, we work with MPs closely. I mean, they are the first arm of government we work with before we even go strictly to the executive.
Okay.
And I think that for the half of the politicians, as journalists, half of the politicians who are friends are MPs. Before we talk about, because we take,
or even before they become ministers.
Yes, at the end of the day. So, and even after they leave office, we're still friends in many respects. I mean, so to speak. So that's why, and we see that many of them would not would want to have, but the argument has always been among the media and the personnel practicing in media that MPs don't need.
So why would you say MPs don't need? I mean, listening to his argument and against the. I'm sorry that I'm asking, but I just want to try and understand.
No, I think it's important.
So listening to his argument and then
it's cogent and salient.
You giggling when he started making his point. I mean, there must be a bit of a disconnect between what we feel and where you were coming from. So I'm just trying to.
I think it's also because there's always that mindset among us as those who practice media that you don't need.
Why?
Because we feel that in that role, as just being members of parliament, you're always in the house and you don't tend to have a lot of security breaches and all. But it's just a negative. It's just a negative perception we have.
No, it's not a negative perception. It's rather from a position of
uninformed.
Yes, because look.
You know, for example, I was asking why would
weekend
why would he have queue of people, and I know him. But I don't think I will go and queue and be waiting for him.
No.
But I would rather call him and say that.
No. You want to see him. You have to go to his office.
Yeah, true.
You are in a position of privilege.
Yeah, true.
To even have his phone number. And even if you have his phone number, you are not the only person who will be calling. So sometimes you would dial and
we actually empathize with the MPs.
So you decide that you want to go to his office. And he's here. From here, I'm sure he has 1 or 2 meetings before he hits the office.
That's even here. People will be calling. That's when people will call.
Yes. So it's serious business.
But I think sorry, let's just a bit. I think that there is some amount of misinformation as to the work of the MPs and why we do or do not need security. If you come to Parliament, okay, if you leave the chamber and you're going to the car park, the number of people that can accost you, okay, most of the time so far it is not negative. Okay, but if anybody had an ill intent, you could be easily exposed.
He will mix up.
It could easily be perpetrated.
No, he will mix up with the people
who have
your constituents, who have just come around you to.
And then when you go into the constituency, okay, you engage people, you interact with people. You obviously may not want to have fiscal security seen around you because you don't want that to be a barrier between you and the people. But then there must be a way that you are also protected because anything can happen to you. Like he's saying, he has been attacked a couple of times in his car, driving to the constituency or doing his official work. And the cost of replacing an MP, okay, would far be, it will be much, much higher than the cost of providing security for the MP.
Indeed, it is.
Okay, and remember that he has said. I mean, even not just the by-election, but the whole arrangement, and the fact that this is somebody who has been voted by the people. He has a big bag of ideas, and he's going to go with those ideas. He's not be able to execute. It's someone that's going to come. So it is a serious issue. It's not. We are not just complaining. That's something that must be taken into consideration, and it shouldn't be assumed that we are okay without
How do
security.
we mainstream that discussion into the national discourse? How do we?
I think, like you said, is a discussion that leadership is having, And so hopefully there will be some resolution. So we are confident that it will be resolved. But I just raised it because I realized that there was a bit of disconnect between what he was saying and how you were feeling. And I thought it was an opportunity to sort of address it. I mean, we're on the same page on this one. It's in the interest of the country.
But this also means that we need to have what is the SOP for having state officials undertake some level of security arrangement, whether it's for themselves or by the state, etc. Because if we take the Honorable Linus Afoseni by his word, he had to go on his own to do this installation, so to speak. But we know that we need to have a standard of procedure by which we undertake this as a country.
There's none. There's none. So I can understand why the minister did this. Look, the fight against Galamsey is not as simplistic as
for example.
For instance, it's not as simplistic as we say. Okay, there are a lot of programs underway. So the minister will be briefed on strategies and all. And this briefing will not be done in the conference room. No, it will be done in his office. You understand me? And so somebody may be interested in listening to what strategies are being implemented, what strategies are being considered, which areas of this country that they are going to hit in terms of remedying the situation. And so it's important. Where he sits as the Deputy Minister for Communications, there are issues. You know, serious communication, serious matters of communication strategy in this country. Some will come to his attention. Policy consultant, policy advisors will come to him and discuss matters. It will be done, I'm sure, not in the conference room, but
in the confines of it.
Yes, and God forbid, if somebody can listen, then we have problems. So that is why, and I'm happy he agrees that periodically, even if it's every month, because sometimes they come, they drop it and they go. And in fact, I was shocked that this is something as simple as a sticker. Yeah. As simple as a sticker.
Devices.
Yes. So the person is sitting in front of you. He thinks you are looking. You want to check something in his phone. He places the sticker there, and quickly the conversation is over. He's gone. But he's planted an electronic device. You know. So.
But I think, Roxanne, but you see, I understand your point.
Yeah.
But in this situation, you have the minister spying on himself.
Yes, I agree.
You understand? And so that's why there are too many questions unanswered.
There are too many gray areas.
Because if he planted the device,
what is the purpose?
What is the purpose?
Is it to monitor his office during his absence?
Okay.
You see, during his absence.
Or is it to monitor your successors? Okay, I mean there are too many unanswered questions.
That is why
if it's about the minister being worried about other people planting devices, that is a take. But then the most sensible thing would have been that he would have taken it along when he was going to.
Or alerted your predecessor.
Exactly.
Even because you know he was moved from there to roads.
To roads and highways.
You know, within the same.
He immediately
government.
went to roads.
So I agree with you. And luckily he's here. He's one of us. He's a colleague in Parliament. He's a senior colleague, and a senior colleague at the bar. So I think he should personally address this matter.
So we shouldn't be commending him too soon. Let's wait
the
for
commendation is about the fact that we will not waste state resources investigating the matter. That's my because we've detailed I think state securities have taken the matter up. It costs money. That's my point. So you should address the matter, and then we put it to rest.
I see.
Yes.
But the lingering questions then, it also means that Ghana, apparently, we've taken, as individuals, organizations, or even government, taking the level of intelligence a notch higher than usually we thought we were not. It looks like we're up there with some of the big nations, as we're watching the Hollywood movies. I would be watching from those points of view. But it means that even for political purposes, people will even be eavesdropping on people's conversations, etc. Even for political organizations and etc. How should we as society take the subject of security more important?
A small point before it comes in. I spoke to another colleague minister, former minister. He told me a friend also introduced the gadget to him. He planted it in his office, but after some time it stopped working. And he too, when he was leaving, he also forgot it.
So is there?
Yes.
Who?
Yeah,
So,
oh, please.
okay.
You know, so that's why we are calling for the sweeping. You know, I think persons are now interested in dealing in those gadgets, doing business in, and of course, it's only the state that can buy into those. You know, so if you want a minister of state to try, and if it's successful, then you can perhaps advise the government to procure it to secure their officials. That is fine, but
I mean, it's a bigger conversation, and I guess the top line is that we should all take our security very seriously. It's not for any laughing matter that sometimes you go into some offices and they tell you that don't take your handsets there. Yeah. I mean,
even us.
I have experienced some meetings where people just ring another person and then cover their phone. And they are there. Then if three of us are having a meeting and discussing something that we think is just between the three of us, somebody else, another party is listening into the conversation. And of course, as far as security is concerned, I mean, that is a serious issue. I mean, if you are recording somebody, courtesy demands that you tell the person that you're recording. I mean, from your profession. I'm not sure that it's right for even if it's a journalist, to just come and having a chat with you and just start recording without your permission.
Well, for the public good. Depends on.
Well, I mean,
it could be
I think
in the court of law.
exactly. Yes.
It's always done.
Yes. So I mean, security is an issue that we should take, and like he has said, there have been instances where meetings within party members where there's a certain level of trust and a certain level of free flow, free discussion within that constituency or within that group. The issues may be taken differently, but when it comes out into the public domain, it has a totally different understanding. Exactly, and we've had those situations that have happened recently in our politics, and I think that it's something that we should all be aware of, and we should take steps to remedy.
Roland, there's a certain perception that when you procure evidence and you go to court and it's not properly procured, you can contest it. It's not always so. Indeed, once the evidence is relevant to the matter that is before the court, it is immaterial how the evidence was procured. It's a serious principle in evidentiary rules in our jurisprudence. And there's an authority, the Republic versus Kiptanu. It's a Kenyan case. It is immaterial how you procure the evidence. So whether you recorded the person illegally or lawfully or whatever means, once the evidence that the person has gathered
secured,
is relevant
to the case,
to damning you before the court, they will admit it. You know.
All right. Wish all of us the best, because we tend to be in different places.
But 52 will tell you that relevant evidence can also be excluded, also on certain grounds. But once the person records,
well, I've been taken to court before, so twice in my career. So
I see.
Yeah, one I was fined, the other was not.
For recording somebody.
Yeah, for recording somebody
without his permission.
On both of filming. You know, I worked with TV for most of my career, so. But the other one I went scot-free. They said
you didn't go scot-free.
Well, in my interpretation as a lay journalist,
they couldn't prove it against you.
They say it was important for the subject.
Yes.
So the
didn't
judge
go scot-free.
Okay. I hear. When I become
the
a
law
lawyer,
find favor with you.
Okay. When I become a lawyer, I'll be able to understand some of these things better. The National Tripartite Committee, we're told, has announced a 10% increase in the daily minimum wage. We keep hearing this. We do these discussions all the time. As a result, the minimum wage is 9 points up from 8.8, we're told. But what really does it mean when we up these daily stipends by which what the cap should be that we need to pay workers averagely?
No, what the base should rather be.
Yeah, sure, that's the base.
Yeah, it cannot go below.
That's the average, right? That's the base.
That's the base.
It cannot go
below.
What does it mean? Is it realistic in the world of work around the world, within the context with which we find our country as a lower middle income country?
I think, like Roxanne has said, this is the minimum level or the minimum wage that anybody who is working within Ghana is expected to attain. And from time to time, there are increases based on inflation, based on market conditions. You don't want the standard of living of an individual to go down. So there's sort of this adjustment that is made. And there are a number of stakeholders that participate in this. When this happens, it is expected that there will be a rippling effect on other individuals, their earnings. I think it's good news. It's good that all stakeholders have agreed to this 10% increase. I think that it calls for the other labor unions to be patient. Government is doing all it can to fix the economy and to make sure that the change that we promised is actually felt throughout for every Ghanaian. The president and the vice president have consistently been saying that they want Ghana to become the most business-friendly and the most people-friendly economy on the continent. And one of our biggest assets is our people. And so we need to make sure that we keep our people happy, we keep our workers well engaged, so that would in turn drive productivity, and there'll be no unnecessary labor unrest, or any labor unrest can be avoided and nipped in the bud. So I think it's good news. I think that this is something that both sides, or both the majority and minority, would buy into and would be supportive of under the current economic conditions that we are going through as a nation. And let's hope that the labor unions, other labor unions, would buy into this, and then there will be some smooth negotiations, as the case may be, whenever it's required.
Roxanne?
It's good news, but I'm only worried that it's taking effect from January next year. That will be in 6 months' time. Now, the people who are really hard hit are not the public servants, because anybody working in the public sector earns above the minimum wage. It is rather the private sector. There are some subsectors of the private sector where they employ Ghanaians and they pay them woefully. I can cite the private security agencies. A lot of people that serve as private security for these companies that are used in, sometimes even in state institutions, in private companies, they don't pay them well. In the course of my practice, a lot of pro bono cases came to me. I took a lot of cases on pro bono basis where somebody is paid 80 cedis a month. This was about 4 years ago. 80 cedis a month. And because the company says that they give them transport, they drop them from their duty points, person is 80 cedis a month. After 5 years, is dismissed on flimsy grounds. Way below the minimum wage at the time. So this one, if you calculate, it's about 200, and it comes to about approximately 300 Ghana cedis a month. So they will be bound. And a lot of people who work in some restaurants, some factory hands, they earn below minimum wage. They are not paid this money. This is supposed to be the daily wage. They're 9 points. Give me the figure again.
I think it's 9.6.
9.6.
9.6, up from
8.
So
8.
a bit below 10 cedis. It's supposed to be what you earn every day when you work. At the close of, at 5 p.m., you're supposed to be given this by your employer. But a lot of private sector companies don't do it. And so I'm happy it's come. I thought it would be effective from about next month. But from January, it's okay.
Well, we look at the market conditions. But how do we streamline the wage and emolument sector, especially in the private sector, where of course, I can corroborate what is many of us can, in which people are paid way below the minimum wage. Do we say it's because of the market conditions? they have great overheads. They have to make sure that they.
No, I don't think. I mean, like Roxanne said, I don't think that there can be any justification.
They can't be.
You cannot. It's legally wrong. Yes. You understand? You cannot pay below the minimum wage.
So if you can't,
it is an illegality.
Rationalize and make sure that you can pay the rest well. Is that what you do?
No. You see, okay.
We're talking about realistic business. Let's be realistic.
You see, for example, like the private security companies that he's talking about, they charge their clients a bit of a higher value.
Higher.
Okay, I mean, I don't. Yeah. I'm trying to be very careful with my words.
They call it a management fee, the kind of.
Yeah, no. The point is making is, okay, if there's a private company that provides security for multimedia, every month the bill they give you, yes,
and by law, there can be no justification to pay any of your employees a wage that is lower than the minimum wage. It's not possible. It shouldn't be possible. It is illegal. Okay, so if anybody is earning lower than the minimum wage, then he needs to sit down with his management, okay, or with his union, for them to go and negotiate and make sure that they are paid.
In the private sector, unionization is not something that's prevalent.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that there should
be
any...
Because they discourage it.
I don't think that there should be any...
There's good experience with people down the spectrum and people in various sectors, etc.
Well, that's a very... it's a very politically incorrect question. No, hold on.
No, this one is just a personal... It's not because you're a deputy.
It's a difficult question to answer, I mean, because... You have, well, I mean, he's a lawyer, so he would know, he can maneuver, as he said. But I think that the issue is there's a minimum wage, okay, that must be respected. We know that there's a perception that the cost of labor in Ghana is cheap. The benefit to that is that a lot of companies want to come into Ghana, or a lot of companies come into Ghana and they produce in Ghana because they feel the cost of labor is, maybe cheap is not the right word, but reasonable. Okay, but I think that there must be a win-win situation. If there must be a tie into productivity, there must be a tie into the performance of the individual, and in the proper corporate organizations, those are the indices. You look at what the market indices, you look at what the value of the person is, you look at the performance of the person, his contribution to the company, how well the company is doing, and then you do all those permutations, and then you make an offer. The annual increases are based on things like that. But with the general thing is okay, it was at this percentage, inflation is this, that market value is this, that is that, and then a negotiation is had, and then it happens. So there's a perception that the cost of labor in Ghana is reasonable. There's a perception that a lot of Ghanaians are hardworking and
come cheap.
I want to try and avoid the word cheap because it could be misunderstood, but everybody wants to improve. Everybody wants to as we say in Ghana, go forward, and so everybody will be fighting to have a bit of a much more decent package than he is earning now. So I think the legal
averagely
now
doing well or not doing well.
We are not doing well. You see,
it's cute.
The answer more like it's not as simplistic as you see, because of the unemployment situation. For instance, Joy FM or Joy News, Joy TV put out an advert that you want to employ 10 journalists who will go out to the field and report, reporters. You are likely to receive about 10,000 applicants or applications from prospective reporters. If you are confronted with such a situation, what do you do? What do you do? You see that you are inundated. So you are going to tighten your conditions of employment. Tighten in the sense that you are going to give conditions that the person will have no chance. Is going to be take it or leave it situation. He will not be he will be incapable of negotiating with you. He will not be negotiating with you from a position of strength. Because if you can't meet your terms, you dismiss him, the next person is in line. But if you are asking for 10 reporters and you have 5 applicants, then you are in crisis.
Depends if it's in petroleum.
No, then you are in crisis. I'm just citing, I don't want to cite any industry. I'm only citing the instance. Then you are in crisis. Then the person says, well, you have to give me 5,000 a month. It's okay, we'll take you, you come back next week. But when you have 100 applicants, 1,000 applicants, you say, well, we can give, yes. You know, so that is all the employers do. Because of
they kind of manipulate them.
Yes, because they are inundated with applications.
The indicators are there for them to manipulate.
And other companies too, they practice unfair labor practices. You have a Ghanaian.
Can you name some of the companies?
No, it's risky. But I know.
I know some of them.
You have a Ghanaian trained electrical engineer who is paid, let's say, $5,000. They bring a similarly trained person from other countries and they are paying him $15,000.
All right, let's look at this. I say this one is encroachment on government lands.
Yes. Sorry, just before you move, I mean, I think that because we all know that there's an issue with the level of unemployment in Ghana, the one district, one factory concept that His Excellency the President
You'll never miss
is
the chance,
introducing, it's something that we should all embrace, because there are a number of components to this, addressing the employment situation, looking at where there's raw material and adding value to it, and then driving production. So in a sense, it's great that this has come. At least those that are going to be employed are definitely not going to be worse off than wherever that they were. And we should all embrace the one district, one factory. Have you selected?
Will there be one?
Yes,
there will be one definitely cited in your area.
I'm fortunate my constituency is a district, so we already have a Youth to Start factory, as you are aware.
I'm very much aware.
We'll be looking at revamping a Youth to Start factory, but the other factories.
And what I like about the concept is that it's been done.
He likes it.
No, I like
Tongo.
Yes, it's been done at the rural areas where if we are supposed to employ, we'll not be moving the people to the urban
I'll visit your area and then we'll get it nicely covered in a great information for social media as well as to be used as bridges for content. Let's look at this. I call it encroachment anyway, and we've had tens of them more recently or in the last few years. And this time, Pantine Psychiatric Hospital workers, Charlie De Giga, they are activating full-blown strike action today after authorities they claim have failed to act on their grievances. Maxwell Agbagba is our reporter there. And Maxwell, good morning to you. What's the latest you can give us from that strike action that the workers of Pantine Psychiatric Hospital have decided to engage in?
Well, good morning to you, Roland. Well, as you rightly stated, the demonstration will be starting, very soon. But currently, we are on one of the, encroached portions of the land that we are talking about. So this parcel of land is the private developer finishes with the construction of this land.
That building would definitely share walls with the Pantine mortuary. And this is one of the things, is among some of the things the workers are actually speaking against, looking at health implications and some of, the disadvantages that it will cause to the Pantine Hospital. I must say that even as we stand on this encroached land, we can hear screams of Toboy, from the Pantine Hospital. Now, in some few minutes when we finish off with this, we'll be wrapping there to see exactly, what is happening there on the ground.
On the hospital ground itself. But this is the frontage of the Pantine Hospital. Well, among some of the things that authorities here are kicking against the forceful, takeover of their lands. In fact, sometime on Monday when we came here, the authorities here told us that they have initiated processes to acquire this land. They are saying that going forward, Ghana is looking at making Pantine Hospital the headquarters, or the so-called, headquarters of mental health care delivery in Ghana. And it's important for us to save this land for the construction that would, happen after that process, takes off. They are saying that it will be cheaper for us now to save this land, and then compensate the private developers. They are saying that it would cost us more. Should we wait for these private developers to develop these lands before we try taking it, away from them? Some of them have actually,
so that you can see some of the contractors at work right now trying to begin, the day's activity. And the nurses at the Pantan Hospital are not too excited about this, and that is what
Maxwell.
Yeah, Roland.
Do I get it that you're saying the administration of the hospital intends acquiring these lands? Does it mean some of those lands in contention really don't belong to them?
Well, in the year 2009, Roland, a private developer took the issue to court, and we are told that the court actually ruled in his favor. The other time when I had interaction with Dr. Akiki,
okay, Maxwell. So you're speaking in respect of this particular land,
exactly.
Which involved that action by the court, which gave the ruling in favor of that applicant, right?
Exactly, Roland.
Okay. But the other ones that we have encroached, they belong to the Pantan Hospital?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, they are saying that the frontage of the hospital actually, if you go into the books really, the frontage of the hospital, some part of it does not belong to the Pantan Hospital. But they are saying that it is completely absurd to have a hospital with its frontage taken by private, developers. They're saying that there will be a point in time.
Maxwell.
Yeah, Roland.
So I believe that when you go meet the authorities, you ask the right questions. So I want us all to situate these conversations in great context.
Okay.
We have a hospital which has a certain landmark. It has a dimension. It's supposed to be situated on a certain landmark, but there are adjoining lands or plots that have been sold by, I'm sure, the traditional or the original owners of the land. That's what's been happening. Is the Pantan Hospital management saying that those lands really that have been encroached, supposedly, were originally part of the ones that had been ceded to government initially by the state when they established the hospital?
Yes, Roland. They are saying that some portions of the land legitimately, belongs to the Pantan Hospital. But some other parts of the land, they are saying, are actually reserved for the road. So a portion of the land which is supposed to be, roads, which is supposed to be like a buffer zone for the hospital, is currently being taken over by private developers.
Maxwell.
That is what.
So I get that they have a legitimate concern, but are also in some of their contentions very much illegitimate.
Exactly.
Okay.
But another point that they are raising also, Roland, is that in the year 2009, one of the encroached lands that we were talking about, a private developer actually took the matter to court, and then the court actually ruled in favor of the private developer. I engaged Dr. Akiki the other time, that was on Monday. He said that they believe that the court actually erred in that, judgment that they gave in the year 2009. So what we are doing essentially is to press on government to take over these lands from the private developers, both the legitimate ones belonging to the Pantan Hospital and the ones, which really does not belong to them, that's supposed to be a buffer zone, for the hospital.
All right.
They're asking government to take over these lands and possibly compensate those private developers so that they can move away from this land, because they believe that for a facility like the Pantan Hospital, the it needs to be clear, and then the parts of the land too that really do not belong to these private developers also should be taken away from them. For instance, this land, it's very close to the mortuary. What you can see in the background right now is the mortuary in the background, and this private developer is developing this piece. And when the building is completed, it would definitely share, a wall with the
Maxwell,
that is here.
Go prepare yourself and let's meet the striking workers and let's see what the actions will be. But we have to, it's, now I'm getting different perspective on this subject, but we know there are so many instances or incidences recorded and also amplified by the media of so-called encroachment. But sometimes we have to situate the argument in a certain context, don't we?
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, my understanding of this situation is that the amount of land that was earmarked to the Pantan Hospital was, I think, about 344 square meters, or sorry,
Acres.
344 acres. And there has been a lot of encroachment. My understanding of encroachment is that the asset belongs to somebody else, and somebody who doesn't own the asset is trying to take possession of it illegally. Is my simplistic understanding right?
It is.
Okay. So if there has been 344 acres that has been earmarked for a public use, and now there are people that are building in front of the hospital, which on land that is supposed to be part of this 344, such that it's difficult to even access the hospital, then it's a very difficult situation. It's unfortunate that it has to come to a situation where the staff have to go on a demonstration for this issue to be addressed. I think that there must be a quick resolution of this issue. Mental health is part of the essential services in this country. There are serious social and security concerns if people that have challenges with mental health do not have access to the right care and do not have access to their right medication. I was listening to one news item where there are people that have to come there for their daily medication, and once they don't get it there, some of them have to travel all the way to the facility in Accra. Some of them, however, decide that they are not going to be in a position to travel all the way to Accra, and they forgo taking their medication, and it's a serious issue.
They can relapse.
I mean, a lot of the situations that we hear about resulting in suicide and stuff like that, it's because some people are not taking mental care seriously, and I think that we should quickly resolve this issue. We cannot sit down for the situation to continue as is. It's just not right.
I see George passionate about it, but I also get some inferences of some legalities that could linger on for some time.
Indeed. He's addressed the social angle. I'll look at the legal angle. Roland, the ideal thing to do, if you're acquiring as a state, if you're acquiring a land for a hospital, for schools, all those social infrastructure, apart from acquiring the definitive size of the land, we must also acquire a buffer around it. So that you don't have private developers or property of private people.
I think that's what he said it did. It's the buffer that they're encroaching on.
Yes, but is it a buffer?
Beyond only encroaching on the mainland, they're encroaching on the buffer which is at the front.
Did the government acquire it as a buffer? It's a separate transaction. It is not ideal to have private properties being contiguous with properties like a school or like hospital. Look at the situation of the University of Ghana. What they did was that when they acquired the land for University of Ghana, they acquired a buffer and constructed a road around it. So even though private developers or urbanization has caught up with the school, there's still some space.
We can't encroach.
Good. Or it separates the
But I have covered stories in which University of Ghana authorities.
They're also complaining.
Yeah, because when you go behind where we have the Atomic Hills and all those places, those are University of Ghana lands.
Yes, but those ones over time. You see, they are also
but the
guilty.
point he's making is that, again, you can't just acquire the buffer and then leave it.
You
have to do something about
it. You have to protect it.
You have to
private plot that you go
Yes, you have to
protect it. You have to secure it, otherwise trouble.
You see, and I want to speak to touch on the AG. The Attorney General's department is not only the criminal division that should be functioning, so that when there's a crime, there's a commission of crime, you hear the Republic versus the Attorney General. The Attorney General also has a civil division. And so they must begin to institute suits or legal actions on behalf of some of these state institutions to fight to protect some of these lands. The AG can sue whichever private developer.
So we just leave them isolated.
Yes.
All the time.
We don't, and you see, the doctrine in law is very clear. If you have this space as yours for Joy News, and every morning I open this door and I sit there, you don't ward me off. Over time, it will become my place of base. Eventually, I will assert myself. And when you want to ward me off, you'll be guilty of acquiescence.
So you have to compensate.
You'll be guilty of the doctrine of standing by. You understand? Because there's something we call prescriptive rights. When somebody encroaches, encroachment can take two forms: a temporary encroachment or a permanent encroachment. If it's temporary, you must take reasonable steps to make sure that you keep the person off. But if you don't do that, the years roll by. If you want to kick the person off, you must have recourse.
Well, we have many, for example, the management of Achimota and the old students, they've been crying.
It is not sufficient. Listen, Roland,
but
listen to the point I'm making.
For example,
it is not sufficient.
Have you been to Achimota?
Yes.
Great encroachment onto the school. It doesn't make sense.
Yes. Now, when the state constructed a highway through Achimota, what did the school do? Do you understand my point?
But that didn't encroach on the land of Achimota.
It did. You took their land for the construction of a highway. So I am saying it is not sufficient to be issuing press statements, to be crying in the media. No. Seek a legal redress to the matter.
Which is what happened in the case of Achimota.
Yes, but it took them so long. Achimota has been here for over 80 years. And the encroachment must have begun from a certain point in time.
It's 90 years.
Yes,
90
years.
90 years. We are 90 years this year.
Good, 90. Solidly, almost 100 years. All right? If the encroachment became rampant even in the 90s, what did the school do? All right? The school could have instructed the GES to write to the Attorney General to issue a writ against those people to warn them off. But the encroachment, you see, initially it will appear imperceptible. You know, people will be dumping container. When I was in the university, we used to pass there to the house in Achimota. So within 3 years, the containers have been dumped along. Yes, gradually. You know, and I'll bring the argument to urban open spaces. We allow our urban open spaces for people to occupy, and we sit aloof, and people will be dumping container over time. So many thousands of containers. Now you want to kick the people out.
Then it becomes a human rights issue.
It becomes a human rights issue.
Yeah.
You understand me? So state institutions should take steps to protect whatever property they have. Always.
But you won't mean yourself.
No.
But you can.
No.
But how significant is it then that so far we haven't had the Minister of Health, the Ministry of Health, go interact with the Mental Health Authority and say we want to help you in this?
No, I am sure. You see,
it's
your duty to bring some of this.
It's my understanding that today there's a meeting between the minister and then the Pantan Health authorities to try and resolve the issue. I think yesterday the administrator had been meeting with them, and today's escalated to the level of the minister. So I think that the minister is meeting them today.
Those who have already encroached, what do we do? Or that's a matter of legality?
You can ward them off. The encroachment has just been.
Has built.
First, let's resolve the matter at hand. Because I mean, for me, my biggest worry is that people are going to be denied access to medical care, and I think it's a very
critical one
issue.
At that.
Yes, it's a serious issue. I think that we need to resolve. I used
to be a mental health nurse, and when people don't take their drugs for a number of days, they relapse. And I used to be in a class with somebody who had a problem.
Is she no longer a mental health?
No, she's now practicing general nursing. So, and at the end of the day, sometimes when they don't take their drugs, then they relapse.
And they cause mayhem.
Yeah. She's been
Maybe
slapped
you know
before.
that.
She's been given a blowing.
And this is something. It's like an involuntary thing. You understand?
It's not like they're doing it deliberately. Exactly. No, it's a medical condition. You have no control over it.
Sometime back there was a saying that there's small madness in everybody.
Yeah, so indeed. It's the level that is of concern. But
I mean, sometimes. And
what they describe as rage,
in the West, they take their mental health
excessive anger.
It must be taken
It's
seriously.
a form of madness.
That's where they say
seriously.
people are bipolar and all that. Ghana, you see many bipolars working with you. They are saying today, they are not saying tomorrow.
And instead of encouraging them to go and seek care, we'll be laughing at them. We need to fix it.
Okay, so usually now this is what we do on the segment. when we're about to wrap up, we look at any issue. It could be your issue. You come up with, and your next colleague will come up. But this time we have a trending issue. It's a trending video we would like to pick on. We want to pick your thoughts on this. Just watch. It's coming out or it's on the sidelines of a diasporan summit. And we had, is it Robert Ahunkan Lindsay? He's been on the show before. Good man, speaks good English. But we also had some reaction. So please watch this, and we'll pick some thoughts on this. George Anda was laughing. Nenyi George Anda was laughing. So it means that he knows the video. Let's watch this.
Nobody likes whiners. People that spend all their time whining all the time, I really get on people's nerves. So stop whining. Stop spending, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this, please, we know it doesn't work. So stop whining all the time saying it doesn't work. If it worked, you probably wouldn't be sitting there. So nobody likes whiners, so stop whining. It is not every time you want to make a decision, you have to see the minister, the deputy on every head. What is this thing? Where did this come from? Do you know how many people want to actually sit down and meet the Minister of Labor? Have you been to his office? There's hundreds of them. What is this thing like, I have to see you, I give me your cell number? This phone doesn't stop ringing.
You are right. We have the money and we have the expertise. We came here to sit with the decision makers to formulate policy to help us integrate us into the system. Where are the decision makers? You tell me, where are they? Where are they? They are nowhere around here to listen to us. So now, everything we talk about here is going to be second and third class. It's going to be washed out, and whatever is left is going to be passed on to the decision makers. Everybody comes in here and has an attitude that, oh, I got something better to do. Well, if this is the biggest now, if you're a business person, and you know that there is a constituency that has the most amount of money, and the most amount of expertise that you need into your business to make it work, I would have thought you would spend more time with that constituency to get them to do something. There is nobody here. The decision makers are not here. So we need to change this mindset. And if you would let the president know, this attitude and this arrogance about we are whiners, really? Who travels 3,000 miles to be a whiner? We could have been whiners from our constituencies. We didn't need to come here. So this attitude has to change. If you want to engage us, then be serious about engaging us, because we're not here to play. Thank you.
And Robert Ahunkan says, Deputy Minister of Trade. Well, not nice words and reply there from... it's on the sidelines of what we call the Diasporan Summit. And we know we've had a number of summits from when Stephen Asamoah Boateng organized the first, the Homecoming Summits. And then we've had other Diasporan Summits over the years. I believe the last one was also organized by the previous government, etc. But what would you say in your reaction to this? I mean, just to cool tempers.
My personal opinion, what he said may have been true, but it could have been said in a slightly different way.
Could have put it better.
We are here to serve the people. We shouldn't do the same mistakes that others have done. We should learn from the mistakes of others. If I take myself as an example, maybe 10 years ago, I would have reacted the same way, because it's about
I knew you 10 years ago.
It's about telling the feeling that you are telling the truth, telling it as is. But in politics, you need to be a bit more balanced. You need to be a bit more sensitive to the people that you are talking to. I'm sure that it could have been said in a slightly different way that wouldn't have elicited the kind of response that came. And it's making a lot of rounds in the social media. I personally think that this could have been avoided. This could have been done differently. It could have been said much better. And I hope that there are ways that we can remedy this situation. This is my personal view.
Your comments on this?
I agree with Nenyi. We are all public servants. He could have done it better. One thing also struck me. the theme of the summit got lost on him. Because this was a summit, the purpose of which was to cut our diaspora brothers, cut affection, cut love from them,
investment,
and market, and you know, and assure them that we've got into a stage where they must. We've always been saying they must come back home and invest. But this summit, the purpose was to give them greater assurance that now it is the time to come back home, or to bring your investment, bring your money home. You know, so any opportunity you had during any of the segments for you to address them, the essence was for you to cut them. And he has worked with GIPC for so long. I'm right. So this is not a new audience for you. These are people you've dealt with over the period. And so he was one of the best speakers. But I don't know what happened.
Wouldn't you say?
And I sympathize. You see, as public officers, sometimes we meet the crowd, we have issues. But you do your work, you go back into the deep recesses of your office and rage and rant. But that is in the private essence of yourself. Before the public, communicate the government's policy. Why you were holding the summit, why you need their money. And the areas that you think that when they come and put their money, they can earn greater returns quickly. You know, it's hard. It's not the essence of the whole summit. And that's what worries me. That even though he thought he was being frank, he was being forthright with what he thinks is not right, that's simple miscalculation.
I think the best way to the best way to look at building what he's saying, would His Excellency the President have spoken like this?
No.
Would His Excellency the Vice President have spoken like this? No. These are the two leaders these are the two people that we look up to.
Those are the two indicators.
They are the two indicators. I mean, I think that it could have been managed a bit better.
And I'm sure sitting wherever he is now, he will be sitting with
social media seems to have changed a lot of dimensions of how we communicate.
But Roland, in all fairness, I mean, if you listen to the whole speech, I think getting to the end, he sort of tried to balance it a bit. But this section,
I'm sure he was prodded. Somebody prodded him that brother.
You have to remedy
the reaction.
Try to do some collateral damage.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
yes, sir.
We know that there's constant pressure on you as public officials, etc. And sometimes the way we get at you is not the best of ways by which we can do that.
I'm sure that
get at him
at the public service. I'm sure if we take this show for example, like for example when he was talking in the beginning about the security, and then you were giggling, I could have been, for want of a better, I could have been pissed. I could have come across.
Knowing you were annoyed in a certain way.
Well, but I could have expressed myself in a different way, because I was right, because I thought you were ridiculing him. You understand? But then I tried to find out what is it that was informing the position that you were taking, and we had a good conversation around it. So I think we learn these things along the line, and let's just hope that it's fixed.
I love that we learn these things along the line. We'll see how that goes. And thank you very much. Nenyi George Anda is a member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West, but also a Deputy Minister of Communications. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for your
I always
time.
like
Thanks
mentioning the MP position first, because that's where you have to go back and ask your constituents to re-vote you into office. And then also we have Member of Parliament for South Dying, Roxin Dapiamapo, a legal practitioner as well. Thanks for joining me, Roxin.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
May I make a small plea?
Please do.
I want to plead with the assembly members for South Dying, 30 of them, that tomorrow they should try and confirm the DCE. We are in the 7th month. We don't have a DCE. A lot of administrative work and projects are lacking.
Come on, relax.
Roland,
so we are pleading with them.
What he has done is a mark of leadership. To come on national TV, and appeal to the assemblymen to confirm the president's nominee. The level of respect that I have for my brother has quadrupled.
Has shot up.
Thanks, man. Good man. Go on, done.
Yeah. So if I was a politician, in his. I would say that he's in bed with.
No, he's a responsible leader. He wants development in his constituency.
I know that. Development is
it's
important.
raining. Our roads are being cut off. There's no DC. We can't get the graders to level up the roads, and that's what the people need.
That's a good MP for his constituents. Thanks for joining me.